Hey, happy campers, Todd here, Great American RV SuperStores, and today we're going to do a technical walkthrough on our 2025 Grand Design Reflection travel trailer. This will kind of cover Reflection as a whole brand. We're not doing the individual walkthrough on each floor plan. This will give you a scope of all the ins and outs of the Reflection. Technically on how to use things, a few tips along the way on operation. If you want a deeper dive on some of these components, we have those in separate videos in our helpful hacks section on the Great American RV YouTube channel. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. We'll be happy to answer. In the meantime, we're going to start up front here. And as you can see, we have our 12-volt jack right here in the front. You have an extend and retract here, as well as on and off for your light. On and off for the light, good indicator that your jack is getting 12 volts. That lets you know that our motor should work, right? If we have any issues, we do have an override. We pull that black cap up right there. You're given a rod. You can go up and down with that jack as an override in the event it's not working. This is part of a 4-point leveling system for your unit, so we're going to notice that it is leveled out. This one's off the ground here. I do suggest for these leveling systems, if your campsite where you're at has a slight slope, it's a good idea to have a block under the front of there so this doesn't run out of stroke. They do have the adjustable hinge there down at the bottom to get a little bit of leg room out of that. Now we'll notice on our plug there, we have two connections on there that are going to our leveling system, and then our red wire that feeds down to have 12-volt power for this. Okay, speaking of 12 volts, our battery rack is going to be back in the back right there. We have our shot battery hooked up right here, as we can see. You'll notice on there, you're going to have this little box right here. This is actually a fuse. If you were to ever overamp the system, anything like that, this is a fuse right here. So when we take a test light, hook it up to our negative side and check on this post here, make sure we are getting 12 volts all the way through. If we're not, you need to replace that protection fuse right there. Beyond all that, your wiring is going to go ahead and feed into your unit. On the front, you're also going to have, of course, have your safety chains, and then you have your breakaway, okay? So your breakaway right here, you have a lanyard clip that is going to hook onto your receiver hitch of your towing vehicle. And we don't want to hook it to our safety chains. We don't want to hook it to the actual hitch that hooks up to here. We want to hook it to the receiver hitch on our truck itself. That way, if anything ever fails out here, this pin right here pulls out of that box. As long as we have a good 12-volt battery, our brakes will activate and stop that trailer. Now, if we don't have a good 12-volt battery, that thing is not going to do you anything. Good idea, besides making sure we have a 12-volt battery, make sure that pin is always inserted. Otherwise, your brakes will be actively braking as you're traveling down the road. On here, we're also going to have our 7-way plug. 7-way plug is going to have all your blinkers, your running lights, all that stuff through here. Your fuses for all the items on here are going to be under the hood of your towing vehicle. So refer to your owner's manual as to where those fuses are. If your lights aren't working or something like that, go there, check those fuses. You're not going to have any fuses on your trailer. If it's not the fuses, then it's the light or the plugs, okay? You're also going to have a 12-volt accessory wire running through here to help charge your battery as you're traveling down the road. It is going to pull off of your alternator and charge that battery. And then, of course, you're going to have your brake control wire through here, too, that activates the brakes on your trailer whenever you have to activate the brakes on your car to help bring it to a stop. Now, behind all that, we have our propane system right here. That reveals our dual tanks right there. Now, if we're just worried about turning these off and on, we can undo these two knobs right here. This cover flips up and we can go ahead and turn those off and on. But we pulled that off so we can show you our dual propane regulator right here. Now you're going to see you have two lines, one going to each tank right there, and then of course your third line is your main line going into your unit. All these are rubber and exposed to the elements. You want to check for cracking, anything like that on that rubber line. You start to see that, you want to change that line out. Now, anytime you bust a LP system open, you want to make sure you get an LP leak check on here to make sure you don't have any leaks in that system. All right, moving on, we have our dual propane regulator, okay? How this operates, you're going to turn both of your tanks on, have them both on, and then you have a selector at the top. It says supply with an arrow pointed to one of the two tanks. We can choose which tank we want it to be. That is going to be our primary tank. Our gauge here in the front is going to show green if we have gas in it. It's going to show red whenever it is empty. Now, once that tank runs empty, this tank will automatically kick in and start providing LP for us on whatever appliance we are using it for. Now, if you come out here and check, this gauge is going to be red because it's giving you the status of our primary tank, okay? If we swap it over to here, it should go green unless this tank is emptying out, and then we can take this one loose and get it refilled. That is the gist of your dual propane regulator right there in the front. As we move over to our side, we're going to notice we are prepped for our Furrion tri-camera system, 3-camera system, 1 on each side, and then your backup camera. It'll power on with your lights. Whenever you turn your running lights on, those cameras will kick on and you'll be able to check your blind spots. Now here we have our leveling system. I have some information on that. Once again, 4-point. We have our leveling jacks here in the front. Let's see, ground control, LCI. If we pull that plug right there off, we have an override for this system. You unplug these 2 plugs right here, pull this little cover off right there, then you can go ahead and put in your override jack and actually bring these up or put them down in the event that this system goes haywire. Now your rear jacks are going to be a little bit different. As we come back here, these are going to be straight vertical jacks. If we see, we have a plug right there on the bottom of there next to the wires. Same thing. Disconnect your plugs up here, put your socket in there, and you can go ahead and manually run that jack up. In the event that you have an issue, you're not stuck wherever you're there, wherever you're at the campsite. Now these are 12-volt jacks. If you don't have a battery hooked up or it is a weak battery, this system is not going to work, okay? It's very sensitive to voltage. So when we turn it on, good thing for our converter to be operating and giving us a proper voltage of our battery system. Now as soon as you disconnect from your truck, you operate your tongue jack, run your tongue jack up, we can come over here and hit auto level, and our system will begin to auto level our unit. When we are done, we camp, we set our steps out, run our slides, do all that stuff, ready to go home, okay? So when you're ready to go home, we can go into auto hitch. You hit auto hitch, and now your system will go ahead and put it at the same height that your unit was at whenever you disconnected from your truck. So no more guessing game for what height that is to get your ball lined up. Do that by just hitting enter and it does the rest. Our next one will be auto retract all. This is going to retract all of your jacks on your unit, and then you are ready to go. Next one would be auto retract rear. This is only going to retract the rear jacks on your unit. It would leave the front ones down, and then you go ahead and retract those with auto retract rear if you wish. Manual level, this would be if your auto level isn't working, or if you have a door that's just barely, you know, swinging out. We want to come make an adjustment, okay? Hit enter, then you can use your front, left, right, and rear keys right here to adjust the unit appropriately to fix that problem. If you need to retract, hold that retract button down and you can do the same thing there. Now up here is going to give you the degree marks, just like a level, right? You have the little bubble inside of a circle. This is that right there. Your ultimate goal is 0. If you have to manually level your unit out like that, we would go ahead and aim to get this down to that 0 point. If we hit down again, we have auto retract, which would go ahead and retract our unit, our jacks. If we hit enter, we go down again. We have front, left, front, right, front. So that is our stroke on each of our jacks. This shows how much they're extended out. Same thing for the rear jacks, and then it would bring us back to our main manual mode menu, okay? We can hit enter to exit. That runs through all the options for our electronic leveling. Now, if you have questions, they do a pretty good job at leaving the instructions somewhere near that panel. We do have videos that go over 0-point leveling on these and a few other troubleshooting codes. LCI1.com support is another website that you can go to get more information on these leveling systems, as well as more troubleshooting tips in the event that it ever goes haywire. Up top, you're going to see your tire link system. You're going to have sensors on your tires. This is 12-volt powered. We have a monitor that's given to you with the unit, and you'd be able to monitor the tire pressure and temperature on your system, on your tire system, as you're traveling down the road. Here we have our solar channel solar charger panel. Do have solar on our unit. We see all that's hooked up right there through the bottom coming from our rooftop. And then we have our battery supply and then our load out to our unit. And what this does basically as it's set is it is set to charge your battery system using your solar voltage, your solar power up on the roof. This controller is changing that solar power to charging power for your battery system. Over to the right of that is going to be your solar disconnect. Now this is going to be separate from your regular battery disconnect, which is down here. This is just going to disconnect the solar from your unit, not your battery disconnect. So in the event you are storing your unit, well, let me discuss battery disconnect real quick. Battery disconnect is doing exactly what it says. It disconnects the battery from your unit. So if we're storing our unit unplugged, and so it won't be charging basically off of 110, we want to shut this off. Anytime we are using our unit or storing our unit plugged in, we want that switch on, number one, so we can go ahead and use it, right? And we're using that battery voltage. And number two, so our converter system is actually charging that battery. If we have this off, your battery is not getting charged. So with that being said, when we shut off this solar disconnect, it has no effect on this. When we shut this off, it has no effect on that. So if you're storing your unit unplugged, leave your solar disconnect on and shut this off. And then, like I said, that little trickle charge solar panel you have up top will charge your battery system to some extent as long as you're getting good solar. Over to the right of that is our converter system, okay? So this is what I was talking about as far as your battery charger. You're gonna see two 30-amp fuses on there. In the event that it's not working, you wanna check those out. But it plugs into 110 power right here, and then our output is 12-volt charging power right there, which is gonna be about 13.65 or more. We can see 13.6 to 14.7 volts DC, 45 amps on this particular unit. So this is your charger for your battery system. If that goes out, your battery system is going to run dry and it's not going to charge, obviously, okay? If it ever does go out, you get in a jam, go get a little cheap battery charger from AutoZone or something like that, plug it into one of your 110 outlets and run it to your battery. It'll get you by in a jam. But this is essential for your 12-volt system. Pretty much all your stuff needs 12 volts somewhere in it in order to operate. So you want to make sure you have a good battery and a good charging system on that unit. As we scoot on back, up top we'll see we are prepped for an inverter. That means all our wiring is right here. We can see it loop back. That is the 110 for our inverter system. Inverter is 12 volts to 110, so it's going to be opposite of our converter. If we don't have a plug-in at the campsite where we're at, we can go ahead and kick our inverter on. It will pull off of the 12 volts, change it to 110. We can run small appliances, battery chargers for our phone, and then like a TV. It's going to depend on what outlets are inverted on your unit. Also back here, maybe we can see it. We see that little white label, circular label right there. That is a filter for our water pump. We need to go ahead, we can just unscrew this panel right here, a couple screws, and gain access to that. We want to go ahead and clean that every so often so it's not restricting pressure flow on that water pump system. You have a little algae, probably whatever debris might be found in your water system, get caught in there so it doesn't mess up that pump. Besides that, not much else you need to do with your pump. It's 12 volt powered. It's going to pull the water out of your fresh tank and supply it to all of your fixtures in the event you were out dry camping. We'll talk a little bit more about that here. We have our panel here. We have a quick connect for our coiled hose, hot, cold, to be able to supply water, okay? We have satellite cable and auxiliary. If you have satellite, let's say a automatic satellite you put on a table or a stand out here, or a tripod, you're going to plug that in here and it's going to go out to all of your TVs. We have our cable input right here that is going to go out to all of our TVs if we have cable at the campsite. Auxiliary, DVD player, maybe it's another LNB for a satellite, kind of like the one we have out here for our outside TV. That one's going to go straight to that outside TV. So we would use that for satellite functions if we want to use multiple LMBs. Down here we're going to have our water valve system. So let's talk about all our different combinations right here. Dry camping, water from tank via water pump. That is going to pull from our water tank, our reserve tank that we have on our unit that we've already filled, and supply water to our fixtures in the event that we don't have a water source there at the campsite. We want to go ahead and turn it to that combination there. Then we can kick our water pump on. That's our switch right there. We kick it on, red light comes on, that lets us know it's on. We can hear our water pump vibrating behind us. Now, the thing about our water pump is it's going to be on demand, okay? So it should only run anytime you turn your fixtures on. You might hear it catch up on pressure every now and again with a quick vibration, and that's it. But if we have all of our fixtures off and we are certain that everything's off and you still hear that pump running, that means your tank is empty or you have a water leak. So you want to jump on top of that, turn that water pump off, and go investigate, because either one can lead to a burn up water pump. You want to make sure you jump on that and take care of it quickly. Powered tank fill is how we actually fill that tank. So we turn to this combination, we hook a hose from the hose bib to our city water connection right here, turn it on, and that's going to begin to fill our onboard fresh tank. Now, we do have a drain valve for that. We'll go ahead and show you in a little while. But you don't want to carry that water, any more water than what you need to on there. Added extra weight for your trailer. It's going to affect your fuel mileage. Plus, when you're done with a camping trip, you want to drain that water out so it doesn't become stagnant. If you happen to overflow that tank, that's okay. There's an overflow hose out of the bottom of your unit. You'll see it start pouring out of there. That's your quick indication your tank is full, okay? Otherwise, monitor it from your panel on the inside and know when it's full. So that's how you fill your tank. Come to here, turn your water on, and it's going to fill that tank. City water, you're going to come to this port, turn to this combination, turn your water hose on. That is going to supply water to all your fixtures on your unit if you have a connection there at the campsite. Winterize is prepping your unit for winterization, those cold temperatures. That is where we are going to turn to this combination. We're going to hook a water hose to here, and the other end is going to go to our RV antifreeze that we are putting into our unit. We're going to drain our low point drains first, then we're going to do that. And like I said, there's a few other steps. This is a little more complex process. You have that in your owner's manual, as well as one of my videos on HAP's Helpful Hacks to give you more information on winterization. Siphon to sanitize to tank via pump. So same thing as winterize. You're going to change this combination. You're going to have a mixture of bleach and water. Hook a water hose to this, run it into that mixture of bleach and water, kick your water pump on, and it is going to siphon that into your fresh tank. From there, you can go ahead and turn it to dry camping if you want to sanitize your fixtures, and then kick your water pump on and it'll supply water to your fixtures, or you can just drain that tank out, one of the two. Our black knob right here, that is another water port. That is for our black tank flush. That is going to go to a spray nozzle on the other side of your black tank and help flush out that system when you're ready to dump. Down below, you may have 1, 2, 3 multiple valves right here. This one has a gray tank valve. Our black tank valve is going to be shown here shortly. Know that this one's here. You may have a couple in here. We'll go over a little bit more information on black tank flush and gray tank dumping whenever we get to that port. So down below, somewhere along your unit, you're going to see a red and blue line right there. That red and blue line is your low point drains that we mentioned for winterization. That is the lowest points on your unit where you're going to drain water. So all that has to do with winterization. You have more information on that in your owner's manual, as well as a video that we have. Let's talk about our slide outs real quick. On this one, we can see that ram down there. That ram is an electric ram. Okay, it has a motor on the end of it, and whenever we activate our slide system, that ram is going to pull our slide in and out. You're likely going to have a system like that, and it's also going to have an override on it as well. As we go to the other side, we're going to see a hole right behind our steps here. That hole is going to lead to a little post sticking out with a 3/4 inch nut on it. You put a crank handle on there, and you can manually retract that slide out in the event that that 12-volt motor goes out, so you're not stuck in a jam where your slide out's stuck, okay? This one right here is going to be our slim rack system. This is a different type of slide out system. It is electric. You're going to have motors on the top on each side just above that top rack. that helps that slide out go in and out. You'll have these bars. They're not actually connected to the wall. It's different from a Schwintek system, okay? We'll have a video that goes over operation on how to override that. If you can't find it, you can also find information on it, once again, at lci1.com support. They are a great place. Most of your components on here are Lippert products. If you want more information or support on that, you can find it in there. Another type of slide out you may have on here is a Schwintek slide. They'll have the actual gray worm gear racks. Sometimes they're black down at the bottom and at the top. We do have a video on that Schwintek system as well. You're going to want to check that out. So look right here, we have our sewer port. Okay, so that one is just for our gray tank. We can tell that because that's only an 1.5 inch pipe right there. So that's going to be for that gray tank valve we found in that front compartment. We'll have our other one in the back, we'll see in a second. We'll also notice just next to it, we have our sewer hose storage center right there. That way you don't have to put it all nasty and stuff in your front compartment. As we slide back, we can see our actual drain port for our black tank and gray tank right here, labeled with our valves right there. So this right here, we'll pull that cover off, put a 4-inch discharge hose on here and run it to our port either at the campsite or at a dump station, okay? If you don't have a port at the campsite, then you don't need to do this until you get to a dump station, okay? All that stuff needs to stay contained in those tanks. So let's imagine we have one here at the campsite, okay? So we'd hook our water hose up. You can get a wide pipe if you have dual outlets. Get a wide pipe, hook them both up, or you can just do it one at a time, one of the two. All right, so our black tank is sewer water from our toilet. Okay, anything we put down our toilet, it's going to the black tank. We have number 1, which is liquids, number 2, which is solids, your RV toilet paper, as well as any chemicals. Nothing else should go in that tank. It's going to get caught, going to get clogged, and it's not going to decay in your system. So make sure we're only putting that stuff in there. Anything else needs to go in the garbage can. Okay, gray tank is going to be all of your sink water, shower water, stuff like that. So with that being said, our gray tank valve can actually stay open all the time as long as you have that connection on that port. Let it drain out. Usually you have multiple people in a unit. You're going to use a lot of shower, a lot of sink water, stuff like that. It can fill up. It's a hassle to come open and close this. You can leave it open, let that water drain out. My only tip is on the last night, a lot of people like to go ahead and close it off, let it build a little bit of water in it, and after you've dumped your black tank, you can open that gray tank and actually flush it out, flush that line out. So up to you if you want to take that tip, go for it. Our black tank, however, that valve needs to stay closed all the time until we are ready to dump. Reason being is you're putting solids and toilet paper and all that stuff in there. You want water in that tank. You need to have several gallons of water in that system. If not, those solids, toilet paper, all that stuff is going to dry up in that tank and get stuck, and you're not going to be able to get it out. You're going to have clogging issues and all that stuff, and it is a pain in the butt. So keep that black tank closed until you're ready to dump. Now when you are ready to dump, of course, have your hose hooked up, open your black tank valve, that black tank flush that was in the front compartment, hook a water hose up to it, turn it on. That's going to lead to the spray port on the other side of that tank. Help start pushing those solids over to our drain valve right here. Once you're done, close that black tank valve right there, turn off your black tank flush. You want to go on the inside of your unit, hold down the pedal of your toilet, and add more water to that tank. So with our valve closed, now we are building up water. We want to add several gallons and then drop your chemicals in there. Now there's all kind of different techniques for flushing out your black tank. I go over one of the best techniques I found in our HAPS Helpful Hacks section under black tank flush. You can find that if you Google it. It's a pretty popular video on our YouTube channel. That wraps up everything with our black tanks. Like I said, after you've dumped your black tank, open up the gray tank, flush out that water hose. You can go ahead and put it in that storage pipe there in the front, and you're good to go. As long as you keep them good clean water in that black tank after you flushed it out, you're going to be in good shape. Up top, we're going to have our furnace. Needs 12-volt power to activate, and then of course our propane is going to heat the air on that system. So our little exhaust right there will have some hot air coming out of it. To the right of it is our Furrion tankless water heater system. Open this tab here, pull that out, pull it up. We can see our tankless water heater system, okay? So you have an on-off switch right here. Is generally a technician switch. Technician come over here and shut that system off if he needs to do any work to it. We're also gonna have another protection fuse right here, 10 amp max, as we can see. If our system isn't working, those are the two things you want to go check. Make sure, as far as not working, meaning it's not powering up, okay? We want to come over here and check those two items right there. Beyond that, not too much else to look at in here except for on the right side. We have our water flow through our tank, so we can do minimum to maximum. Generally, you're gonna have it set on maximum, so that's allowing a maximum amount of cold water to flow through this unit to be heated up to provide out to your fixtures. This black cap right here is a screen, so it's trapping any debris and stuff from going in that system. It's regular maintenance to go ahead and get that cleaned out. Down here at the bottom, the gold tube right here, that brass tube is our drain port. We would unscrew that and drain our system when we're prepping for winterization. The clear tube is going to be for our pop-off valve. So if the system reaches too much pressure because of heat, then it would go ahead and automatically release water so this system doesn't combust. So it's normal to have a little bit of trickled water coming out of there, not a problem, but if it is spraying out of that system, you got another issue and we need to go ahead and get that checked out. Put it back, drop it down on our two little nipples down there. Okay, once that's done, line up your little exhaust ring right there, turn that, and you're good to go. So once again, an exhaust here for that propane heated system to exhaust out. 12 volts needed to power it up and operate. On the rear, you're going to either have a 50 or 30 amp system back here. You go ahead and insert your plug, turn it to the right. There's only one way that it can go, so don't force it. If it doesn't go, make sure your tabs and nipples are lined up correctly. Once it is locked in, take that little retainer ring, tighten it up on there. That way no kids can accidentally pull this out. That is going to be a live electricity. You don't want to mess them with that, okay? Once you're plugged in right here, then you go plug it into your 15 amp power supply or 30 amp power supply there at the campground. You always do that second because we don't want any arcing or anything like that on this plug. It'll go ahead and mess up the plug on the end of here. So make sure there's a good tight connection on here, then you plug it in back there. On the rear of our unit, of course, we have ladder access that's going to gain us to our roof. Roof is important because we have a rubber roof up there. After you're traveling, you may hit some trees, some low-lying whatever, okay? Get cuts, scrapes, holes, and stuff in that rubber. That's going to allow water entry into your unit. You want to make sure you fix that kind of stuff immediately. We're also going to have sealant up there. We're also going to have sealant on our sides, around our rails, our floor lines, our lights, anywhere on your unit where we have vents on the roof, lights, windows, all that kind of stuff, you're going to have sealant, all right? Owner's manual says customer maintenance. Every 60 to 90 days, check out all the sealants on your unit. If you see any cracking, peeling, deterioration, clean it and reseal it. If we don't do that, we're allowing the opportunity for water entry into our unit. Manufacturers aren't going to participate in that kind of repair. So unless you have been maintaining your unit, then maybe they'll consider helping you out. But if you've just been letting this thing sit out, bake in the sun and let it deteriorate away, it's on you. Do not let it happen. I see a lot of people do it and it is careless and it will ruin your unit. So make sure we're staying on top of the maintenance. Manufacturer says every 60 to 90 days. I don't care if you keep it in the barn, under a cover, or anything. Doesn't matter. Check your sealants on a regular basis on here, as well as your wiper seals on your slide outs as well, okay? So moving back over to here, checking all that. You also want to wash your rubber at least twice a year or two and maintain that properly. Up there, you're also going to see another prep for that backup camera, part of that 3-camera system. If you want just the backup camera, not side cameras, you can do that too. It'll kick on with your running lights whenever you turn those on, and you can see behind you while you're traveling down the road. Down here, we're going to have a receiver hitch. We're going to notice no lights, no spot for chains. That means it is no tow, okay? It's for a bike rack, a luggage carriage, anything like that. It is not for a boat trailer or a golf cart or anything like that. So don't use it as such. You're going to run into issues. Under our unit, as we look, we have a spare tire right there. We'd see this hole right here that is going to lead to our pin right there. That is to drop our spare tire out of our unit. As we look to the other side, we see those two blue hoses and that white valve right there. That white valve is to dump our fresh tank system. So if we want to dump that system, we open the white valve right on the other side, and the two blue hoses are our overflow hoses in the event that you overflow that tank by accident. No big deal, they got you covered, okay? Out here, you're gonna have your outdoor cable hookup and antenna for your outdoor TV, as well as a 110 outlet. That outlet is gonna be GFCI protected on there. So you'll know what I'm talking about whenever I go inside, talk and show you our resettable GFCI outlet. That is one of the ones that it covers. All wet locations is going to have a GFCI protected outlet. Not much else to cover out front over here. Our side compartment, you have your override jack system right there. So that pretty much covers everything out. Oh, a sidewall right here, okay? So that means that our microwave is right there. You're gonna have a hood vent over your gas stove. In order to ventilate that air out, you're gonna have that. We can see there's two clips right at the bottom of that. Those two clips are to secure that closed. That way if you store your unit, you don't want any insects and stuff building any nests in there, you wanna go ahead and clip those tabs closed. If you want to actually use it, you need to unclip those tabs. That way that air can circulate out. Moving on to our awning right here. Our awning is a sunscreen mainly. Is not a rain protection device. It is not very friendly with high winds, heavy rains, or anything of that such, okay? That bad weather comes through, you're leaving your campsite for an extended period of time, roll the awning in. Otherwise, you're gonna come back to a little catastrophe, okay? Now, we are gonna get a little dew on there. We're gonna get some light rain. Your AC is gonna produce condensation. That's gonna roll off the roof and into your drip rail and possibly onto your awning. All that stuff perfectly normal. We have to provide it an opportunity to drain off, okay? So our tube is perfectly straight up here. We can either go to our front arm or our rear arm, either one, wherever you want that water to drain off to. We're gonna grab it right here and just pull down. So now our awning is now pitched to the side. Water can drain off of there and get off of that awning, keep it from bellying in the middle and causing it to collapse. Our awning is going to be 12-volt powered. We can see our wires. They're always going to come out on that front awning arm. Wires coming out, going to our awning lights, and then there's another one feeding through to our awning arm right here. This is our main head for our awning arm. The front is always going to be the one with the motor. We have our solid steps here on the side as well as our safety rail. We can go ahead, slide that up, pin it right there for travel. You want to pull it out. Just pull out, slide that down, and we have our rail. For our steps, after we have auto leveled our unit, we want to level out our steps. Make sure that your door is completely open. That way when you lift it up, this piece right here does not drag, tear up your screen. So whenever you're ready to store, lift up. Some of them will have a little shock assist right here, so one-handed up and stored is really easy. Whenever you're ready to bring it down, just give it a pull, and then you'll have to push it down to come to the ground. So we've auto leveled our unit. We need to level our steps. Do that with this silver tab right here. Push it. Now we can adjust our legs, and we want to go ahead and hold this in, and then we can adjust them up and down, okay, to get our steps to the proper position. What we're looking for is a nice flush threshold right here. That way our door will close properly. And then also we're looking to make sure we don't have any interference between this frame and this frame causing any damage on our door or our steps. So very important to level those steps out. I know a lot of people drop them down, they're just in a hurry and they may open and close that door. They're gonna hit and tear up the frame of that door as well as the frame of the steps. Little on-off switch right there is for your motion lights down low. Now this is a particular floor plan kind of stuff, okay, as far as location. But all your components are pretty well going to be the same. We have our 12-volt operations panel right here. This is going to give you the levels of all your tanks. Your fresh tank, your black tank. This one has 2 gray tanks. So as these go up, that shows that they are getting full. Our fresh tank, exact opposite, right? As it drops down, we're running out of water. For here, we have our battery charged. Good, fair, low condition. We have a Bluetooth Connect right here. If we download that Compass Connect app by Grand Design, we can actually Bluetooth connect our phone to that, and we can operate or monitor some of these things from our phone off of this panel. We can operate our lights right here, ceiling, awning, porch. We have our tank heater and our water pump. So our tank heater is a 12-volt mat that goes on our tanks, and that will go ahead in cold weather where we're worried about freezing. I'll actually apply heat to those tanks and keep that water that's in that tank from freezing up. We have our water pump. We talked about that outside. That pulls from our fresh tank right here, supplies water to our fixtures. Down below that, we're going to have our awning and our slide out operation right here, in and out, and retract and extend. You just hold it down and that slide out will start operating, okay? Down below that, JBL radio system, A and B to control interior and exterior speakers. You're going to have your source button right here as far as radio, Bluetooth, whatever you decide to use on here. Do have Bluetooth to hook up to your phone and stuff on there as well, so you can go ahead and play from your phone. Let's move around into our kitchen right here. We have our microwave. Talked about the little vent there at the bottom. That's going to go ahead and push air out when we are cooking on our stovetop. Now about our stovetop, this one is the more residential style Furrion stovetop. This is going to be obviously propane operated, okay? When we turn our propane on after storing our unit for an extended period of time, generally you're going to have air in your lines. Anytime you store your unit, you're generally turning the tanks off, right? So the propane is going to dissipate in your line and you're going to have air in it. So now we have to bleed it off. We want to bleed it off before we activate things like our tankless water heater or our furnace and stuff like that. This is manually operated, so it's the best place to go to in order to bleed the air out. You pick a burner, you can do multiple, only have one hand to use right now. So we're going to push that in, we're going to turn it to the light option, and we're going to hold it down until it lights. Now this one went and lit quick and then went out, so perfect example. We had some air in that system, a little bit of propane in there, then it went out, okay? So what we're shooting for is for it to light and stay lit. Then we need to run it for about 30 to 60 seconds until that system burns all the air out of there. So right now we're just pushing air out of that system until it lights. It may take a little bit of time depending on where your stove is located on your unit. So just stay on that stay on that flame icon right there, pushing in until it actually lights. Once you've done that, like I said, you can do multiple burners, let it run for a little while. Once you've done that, you've pretty well gotten all the air out of your system and you're okay to operate your furnace and your tankless water heater. Now your oven down here at the bottom, that one is going to be another knob right here off to the side, other side. So same thing, you're going to have a little flame icon on there. You're going to turn it, you're going to push that button down, and we are going to have a little igniter down here at the bottom on this one. We can see our tube, see a little tube under there, and we see a little bit of arcing back there. That is where our pilot flame is going to end up. Once it lights down there at the bottom, and even though you burned it out on the top, it's still going to take a little time to get some air through here. Then once it's lit, we want to hold that knob down still. You're still going to hear it arcing out and trying to light. Once that flame is lit, just keep it down for another 20 seconds or so. You're warming up the thermocouple to let it know that it is lit. Once you let off, then you go to your temperature knob here and turn it to the appropriate temperature. Your burner tube is going to light up all the way around there, and then you're good to go. Close it and you are ready to cook. If it does go out down there at the bottom, just turn it back to the flame icon and keep cranking on it till it lights. Hold it for another 20 seconds and then give it a shot. Have a little button for your oven light there. Have another button for your knobs right there at the top. Sink, standard sink. Under all of your sinks, you're going to have access to your P-traps, your water fixtures, all that stuff. Check those lines. Make sure those connections are good and tight. After wintertime comes around, and then it gets hot again, a lot of those connections end up starting to just drip water out, okay? So we want to stay on top of those kind of small maintenance things. Same thing with our P-traps. Stay on top of that kind of stuff. That way we don't have any leaks in our unit. In this unit, we do have the TravelFi system. You can insert a SIM card on here and have internet with you wherever you go. You have landline hookups, or you can use Wi-Fi, whatever you decide. Pretty cool little system right there. Not much to go over as far as operation on that. You can scan there, set that system up. It'll walk you through everything on their website. Have our TV system right here. If we look behind it, we'll see our antenna booster, okay? So we have our connections right here. We have 2 of them. We're going to have this one that says satellite on here right above the coax connection. That is going to come from our satellite port on the outside in that bay. The top one is going to be for our antenna and cable. So cable is going to pass through here. We have an antenna on our roof that's going to provide us with those free air antenna channels. If we have cable, we have a little red light right here. We want to make sure that red light is off. We have cable, we scan for channels on our TV, and that light being off, it won't scramble our channels. If we have antenna, we don't have cable, we want to make sure that light is on. We want to scan for antenna channels. What that light does is it is an antenna booster to help you pick up more channels in your area. So light off for cable, light on for antenna is how that works. It does nothing, whether it's off or on, to mess with the satellite signal if you're using the other port, so you don't have to worry about it in that case. Recliners, if you do have electric, they're going to be 110 plugged into the outlet on the back side. Generally, all of your lighting and your slide outs is going to be a separate switch controlled on there. It is not going to be controlled by your panel off to the side. We have our COLP detector down here at the bottom. It's going to be 12 volt powered, hardwired into your system. They are good for 5 years. If you look on the back of them, you should have a date stamped on the back. Sometimes they're on the front. And when that date comes around, you need to go ahead and change it out. That way your system stays operating properly and safe. Green light lets you know that it's powered on. Red is going to be alarm. Red and green means it is a fault. Red, red, green, green means end of life. And 60 months after retail sale, should you replace it, okay, or that date that comes around. Test mute button right here on the side. Light will flash, alarm will go off whenever it detects RV propane, okay. We're also going to have in our unit our smoke detector up here. Smoke detector is good for 10 years, 12 volt battery on that system. Want to change that out when daylight savings comes around. That way we can make sure that's working properly. Have our Furrion fridge right here. It is going to be a 12 volt refrigerator. Anytime we power up our unit, and this is included with outdoor fridges as well, anytime we power up our unit, we're going to have cooling in here unless we have our system off, right? It's going to cool, it is going to freeze, and guess what? It's going to accumulate ice, it's going to accumulate moisture. When we shut it off, that stuff is going to defrost, it's going to condensate. It can create mold and mildew in here if you don't air it out and dry it down, and it can produce water that has melted. That water melts, leaks out, and damages your wood cabinetry or panels around it. Manufacturer is not going to participate in that kind of repair. So defrost and store your refrigerator and freezer properly. Otherwise, you're going to run into some repair issues that you do not want. Let's go over some more information on our Furrion fridge right now. All right, so here we have our Furrion residential fridge. We have a freezer on this side, fridge on this side, and we have our control center right here. We can see that we have our couple of options. We have fridge, freezer, function, and lock. In order to change into these functions, we need to make sure that lock icon is gone. So we can do that by holding down on the word itself, not the icon. Eventually that will go away. Now we can change the temperature on our fridge and freezer if we wish by pressing, once again, the words, not the numbers. Now we have a couple of functions on here. The first function is a little umbrella with a sun on it. That is our vacation mode option. That is going to be considered to be off-grid. So it's going to reduce the amount of work that compressor is doing. That way we're not using as much power. Let's say that we're working off of our batteries and we don't want to use as much power, so we want to put that in that vacation mode. This screen will auto lock itself, so if you open it back up and you're messing with it, you may see that lock icon come back on. We just hold that button once again. Our next mode is a little snowflake. That is our super freeze mode. That's going to drop the temperature down more on our freezer and help cool, super freeze whatever we might have put in there, right? Our next one is a little drop with a snowflake on it, and that is going to be our fridge cold mode. So our super cold mode for our fridge side, same thing. We can activate those both individually or at the same time. We keep clicking them and then all of them will go away. Now once everything's gone, that would just be normal operation and we can go ahead and adjust that temperature whatever we want. The other ones are set already for those modes. Now we're also going to have an option on here if we store our unit, we want to put it in, they call it a low power mode. It's basically turning everything off. If we hold down that lock button once again to unlock it and we hold down the function for 5 seconds, the system is going to turn off. We'll notice some dashes right here. That shuts your compressor off, that shuts the lights off inside the fridge. That's basically how we turn this system off. So if we're storing our unit, we want to shut it down. We also want to defrost this freezer, get any water out of it, moisture, anything like that. Same thing for our fridge. There's no drain tubes on these, so that water is all it's going to do is leak out. Make sure we put towels on the floor, wipe all of it out because that can cause damage to any wood components around it. So make sure we're maintaining this properly. You're also going to have a little travel knob for your refrigerator to help ensure that your goods don't fall out. Take that, screw that into that hole up top, and you tighten that down while you're in travel to keep those doors from opening. All right, off to the side, we have our kitchen vent right here. That is going to be located right there for our fantastic fan. We have our fan on for speeds 1, 2, 3, and 4. Vent open, vent close, fan off. Pretty self-explanatory there. Before we talk about our thermostat on our AC, we see these vents right here. These are the actual output vents for our AC system, okay? We have another output vent on our actual AC assembly, so our AC is located right above our head right here. If we open this vent right here, only cool air is going to be coming out of this vent here. If we close it, now the cool air is going through a racetrack right here with all these vents, and now it's being distributed throughout our entire unit. So if we want just cool air right here in the kitchen, maybe we're cooking, we need more air, just go ahead and open this up and that's going to pour all that cool air out right here versus all through the rest of your unit. You're also going to have a filter right here, 2 tabs, pop them loose. You need to clean that filter on a regular basis. That way it is not restricting air to our AC. We're also going to talk about our furnace on that. We're going to see all those ducts down low. We'll see them through our cabinets, stuff like that. See one over there. That's where your hot air is going to come out. Only cool air is going to come out of your rooftop. Let's go over our AC system by Furrion right now. We'll start with our cool option first. Our cool will cool the air throughout our unit. We of course set our thermostat to whatever point we want it to be, and we have our fan speed options. We have low and high. For low and high, that fan will run all the time. Now whenever we want that fan to cut off, whenever the compressor cuts off, much like we likely do at home, we have it on auto. That system will shut off and on with the compressor. Our next mode is our heat mode. Our heat mode activates our gas-powered furnace on our unit. We choose our set point and our heater will come on whenever necessary. There is fan speeds on here, but it does not change the fan speed on that furnace. It is a single fan speed on there controlled by the furnace board. Our next mode is our fan mode. Our fan mode simply circulates air throughout our unit without cooling it or anything. This will come out of our rooftop air, and we can just change from high to low to control that fan speed if we wish. That fan will stay on the entire time when we have it in our fan mode. Our last mode is our dry mode. Our dry mode is like a dehumidifier. We can choose our set point and it will cool our unit down to that set point, and it will continue to cool past that but alternate every 6 to 10 minutes off and on. That way it doesn't drop that temperature too low and freeze you out of the unit, but it still dries the air in your unit. Another thing to note with our furnace is that the air is going to come out of the vents on the floor. It's not going to come out of the rooftop air. Your only rooftop air is going to be your fan and your cool and your dry. Your heat will come out of those floor vents from the furnace. All right, moving into our bedroom, we can see down here we have our 12-volt fuse panel. Everything's labeled as far as what that goes to. Then we're also going to have our 110 panel right here with our breakers. Now, if we have a 30 amp system, obviously we're not going to see 250 amp breakers in there. We'll see a 30. So just something that's going to be different based on the power supply for your unit. So we talked about GFCIs. So we see a GFCI breaker right there. this is where it's going to be tripped. Some of them have outlets on there. You'll see a test and reset button. This one has the test button right there on it, and it will trip that breaker to reset. Sorry, hard to do with one hand. So I hope you saw it. Just click it down and reset it. Now these generally trip because the outlets got wet, right? They're out in wet locations. That is their main protection. Outlets got wet, circuits crossed, and it tripped it. They can also trip because we have too many coffee makers, griddles, blow dryers, all that stuff, and we've just overamped the system. They'll trip because of that too. So in the event that it trips again right after you reset it, you want to go check, make sure you don't have too much stuff plugged in or the outlets didn't get wet. Besides that, you'll see everything else down there as far as what they go to. And of course, like I said, your 12-volt fuse panel right here for any 12 volts that goes to that. And in our bedroom, we're also going to have a TV backer location for a TV. Have satellite and cable, separate ports, just like we did in the front. Now, the only difference is you only have one antenna booster. It covers all the stuff on your unit. You only need it in one spot. Your antenna is going to come through your cable port right there. Satellite, of course, once again, is going to be separate. Have storage underneath our bed in most cases. Just lift it up, and you can see that there. Another smoke detector in here. Interior speakers. As you move into the bathroom, you may also be equipped with a washer dryer. Now this would be for a combo unit, okay, not big enough to put a dual washer and dryer in here. We have our water ports there, our drain plug, and our spot to go ahead and put our dryer vent right there. And we have our 110 plug off to the right side. To the left of that, we're going to have our shower connection. Now if we noticed in this side cabinet, we have access to the back of that shower connection right there behind that panel. Our shower is going to provide obviously hot and cold water through our system. And to the left, we have dual sinks in here. Once again, you have access to all that stuff to be able to check your fittings and stuff. Make sure that everything is not leaking. You have your Furrion tankless water heater system right here. Very simple to use. Turn it off, turn it on, right? You have it on, you turn on your hot water, it is going to start running, and you'll see this flame icon right here light up. You adjust what temperature you want right here, and that is going to be the output from that tankless water heater system. You have your choice between Fahrenheit and Celsius, whichever one you choose, and that's pretty much it. It's a plug and play, ready to go type system. Now also in your bathroom, you're going to have a little vent right up top, a little switch, wrong one, little switch turns it off and on. You have to manually crank that vent. It's suggested you use that whenever you take showers to reduce the heat and humidity in here. Of course, reduce the opportunity for mold and mildew. Last thing we're going to talk about is our toilet system, right? Everybody's favorite part of camping is our black tank system. We flush our system, we come back in here, we fill it up with water through our valve right there. Now, the thing about our toilets, we're only putting number 1 and number 2 when it comes to sewage, liquids, and solids, as well as RV toilet paper only. And then also our chemicals down into that tank. Nothing else, everything else needs to go in the trash can. All right, so when we are using it, if we're using number 1, just liquids, hit that pedal, send it down the drain. If we are doing number 2, which would be solids, okay, and we have some toilet paper in there, we want to barely push that pedal down, and water will start coming out of that spigot right there, and we want to fill that bowl about half to 3/4 of the way. Then we flush it. This adds water to our system to make sure those solids make it all the way down to that tank. Of course, you're also adding more water to that tank to help keep that stuff from solidifying. Chemicals, it's going to be based on the type of chemical you use, whether it's a liquid or one of those little baggy drops that you put in there. Read the directions on the back of those. They're going to be specific as to how to operate that stuff. It wraps up everything on our Grand Design reflection. Might have left something out, might have not, might have answered all your questions. Idea was just to be a quick refresher in case that you forgot how to use your unit. Maybe you didn't get a good walkthrough from somebody else, but we did that for you, not a problem. If you do have any questions, leave it down in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them. We do have a deeper dive into a lot of these components and stuff in our Helpful Hacks section of our Great American RV YouTube channel, as well as RV 101 and Appliance 101 stuff that you might want to check out if you're a new camper. Thanks for watching. Here at Great American RV Superstores, we bring the how-to to you.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.